All right, I need everybody to do me a favor before we get into this. Take a deep breath. Okay, when I read through this, it's going to sound like it's a lot. I promise it's not as bad as it sounds. Okay, so with that in mind, let's go. Exam 2 is going to be open Monday and Tuesday, so that is on 3, 4, and 5. 3 was the organic molecules chapter, so carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, nucleic acids. There's a lot of other stuff too at the beginning, like the introduction, so just focus on that chapter. 4, it was on cells, so we talked about cells in general, and then prokaryotes and eukaryotes. And 5 was on the cell membrane, and towards the end we started really looking at diffusion and osmosis and phagocytosis and all the different types of transport in and out of the cell. All right, so that's the big one. That's the test. About like last time, it should be around 65 questions. You'll have a minute per question. Plenty of time. Guys, when I reviewed the test last time, I'm going to say 20 minutes was probably the average. So do not let that time scare you. That is more than enough time. So don't stress about that. Just remember, pay attention to the instructions with your environment video. Make sure you're showing your desk or table surface in front of you. Quick 360 of your surroundings. And then you'll notice this last time, when you take the test, I'll have to review it and grade it, and then I'll release your grade. So I'll get that. If the test is closed on Tuesday, I will try by Wednesday or Thursday at the latest to have everyone's grades finalized. I've just got to review and watch the videos and all that. So that's Monday and Tuesday, all right? If possible, now do whatever you need to do as good as you can on this test. But if you can take the test on Monday, that's going to give you more time to finish everything else that we have this week. So let's go through that. This is the part that sounds like a lot, especially since we just had a test. You need to watch chapter videos for 6 is on metabolism. It's talking about how reactions take place in your cells. 7 is photosynthesis, so how plants take sunlight and use that energy to make food or sugar. And 8 is cellular respiration. That is how we and plants and all living things take sugar or carbohydrates or food, and we break that down to make ATP, which is our energy source. All right. So all of those go together because they're all dealing with energy and how we make food and how we use that food for energy. It sounds like it's a lot because it's 3 chapters in a week when you also had to have a test. Here's the good news is that these are actually really short chapters. Chapter 6 is close to average. It's maybe like an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes if I'm remembering right. But 7 and 8, both of those are actually, actually really short chapters. 7 is right at an hour. Chapter 8 is a little under an hour. So even though you've got to watch 3 lectures, as far as time goes, it's probably going to take you less time than watching like 2 lectures in another week. All right? That's my job. That's my attempt to make it sound like it's not that bad. So just a heads up, number 1, it does not take a ton of time, but number 2, there's a lot of information that's packed in there. This is not something you want to have on while like it's in the background where you're really watching TV and you're checking your phone. You really want to take good notes on these. I've got when you go to the learning materials and click on Unit 3, I've got some worksheets that I made for photosynthesis and cellular respiration, and they're blank. This is not an assignment. You don't have to do this and turn it in, but what it is like a chart where you can organize your thoughts when you're studying this material. It talks about the different steps of photosynthesis, and you can write down the name of those steps. You can write down what occurs in each of those steps, what's the location of those steps. So if you'll use that to study in addition to your study guide and in addition to your notes, that's a good way to prepare for the next test. All right. Again, it's confusing because we've got a test at the beginning of this week, but I'm talking about exam 3. You can prepare that way. All right. So once you've watched those videos, your review quiz is due Sunday, February 7th. So it's on 6, 7, and 8. You have a discussion board from Chapter 2. It deals with cells. Cells, I think I mentioned this in like when you read the instructions, but cells don't sound that exciting. They definitely don't sound like personal, and why should I care about that? But what I did is I found a really interesting radio story. And then since I heard the radio story, I think HBO made a movie about this called The Immortal Cells of Henrietta Lacks. So what you'll do is listen to that story. And just like last time, I want you to leave one post to yourself. And then number 2, I want you to reply to another student's post. Make sure you do both of those things. And you can get 10 points on that. For whatever reason, on the last discussion board, a lot of people skipped that. So make sure that you do this. Make sure that you don't skip over that. It's meant to be 10 pretty easy points, so take advantage of that. Okay. All right. Lab 3 this week is on cell membranes. So that was something we talked about in Chapter 5. But the cell membranes, this is a good lab. It's not really difficult. It's not that time intensive, except for there's one big thing. There's a step where we're going to be talking about osmosis and how water goes in the cell or how water is drawn out of the cell. So what you're going to have to do is, we use a potato. If you look at the materials you need to provide, you have to have a potato for this. You're going to take the potato, you're going to cut it into certain dimensions, and then you're going to soak the potato in different solutions overnight. Okay? So here's what this means. I've got it bold. I'll try to send out a reminder for everybody sometime this week. But you're going to have to set up the potatoes overnight, let them incubate for 24 hours, and then the potatoes will be ready for you to do the lab. The only reason I'm saying that is if you do the lab Sunday night and you don't do that step, it's not going to be ready before the due date. Okay? So whenever you get a chance early in the week, set those potatoes up in that solution so that 24 hours later you can do the lab. All right? There's a step where you're going to have to do a chart in Excel, and I've got a quick video that kind of explains how to do that, so watch that if you have any questions. If you don't have Excel, or if you still have trouble with it, I'm okay with you hand writing a chart as long as it's the way that you're supposed to do in the instructions. You can, like on graph paper, make your own chart that way. Just make sure it includes everything that the lab asks of you. All right? Okay, finally, we're almost done. Last thing, exam 3 is next week also. So I know that sounds like it's a really quick turnaround from one exam to the next. But number one, this is an 8-week semester. We've got 5 tests in this class. So there's got to be 1 week where we have tests back to back just in order to finish everything up in time. So exam 3 is next week. Because we had a test this week and I'm also giving you a test next week, I'm going to leave it open longer than usual. Exam 3 next week is going to be open Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. That way you've got a long period of time. You've got a longer time between exams that way. And that's actually not too bad. I know back-to-back weeks sounds really hard. But if you take exam 2 this week on February 1st, then you've got until February 10th to take exam 3. That's about 10 days in between exams, and that's the average that we've been doing so far anyway. All right? So just prepare for that. Listen, if you're getting stressed out about this, here's the good news, is that at the end of this week, we're halfway done. I know this is a really fast-paced class, and it's a lot, but you get it knocked out, and it's going to be worth it, I promise, at the end. Keep letting me know if you have any questions, and I will help you out however I can.